Welcome back, everyone. We are here to talk about the August astrology, and as always, I would like to introduce Sandy from Solar Power Health. Sandy is our local astrologer and medicine woman and yoga instructor, an incredible human being. So, Sandy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Love being here.
Thank you. We are talking about August, and what would you like to tell us about the overall theme for August?
Well, August is Leo's energy, which is enthusiasm, right? Leo leads with the heart, so this is, it's the fixed time of year. So Cardinal Cancer brings the summer in, but then someone needs to be like, guys, we need to play. Like there needs to be time for fun, for joy, for, the things that we're good at, we love doing. So this is the energy of Leo. And whenever you think the ideal summer, fun kind of energy, that is literally how most Leos will live their life.
Yeah, absolutely. That seems so fitting for the middle of summer. And when I think of Leos, I think about really courageous actions, confident actions, heart-centered actions. But I love the theme of just playing and enjoying the summer. And
Yes, you've never ever met Leo energy if it's not the underlying process of everything is to enjoy it. And even their natural leadership comes from that. They know that they need to share those gifts, those talents. And so summer's for that.
mhm,
Being seen.
yeah, bright and sunny. So I know that later in the month we will go into Virgo season, but let's start at the beginning of the month here. August 6th, we have Venus entering Libra. So, how will Venus entering Libra affect our relationships or our sense of harmony?
Well, Venus is at home in Libra because Venus rules Libra. So it understands this energy very, very well. And whenever we think of it coming back to its home, this is just where things like harmony, being able to work through partnership things and one-on-ones are very, very important. How it'll affect each person will be like what area Libra is in their chart, and how it's aspected. But for the most of humanity, like this is a time where it might be a little bit more social, and we're going to cherish those closer contacts. And it's also kind of like a mirror energy. We get to kind of see what is it we actually want or expect from relationships, and are those needs being met or not.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and that's a big learning curve for everyone, myself included. People are portals to our higher self. They are mirrors. They reflect what it is we're thinking and we're feeling. And so, when someone shows up and they present either a positive or a negative attribute, or yeah, attribute, I guess. It
Yeah.
really is an opportunity to reflect on what you love or what you're being challenged with internally, right? Because this
Yes.
is all shaped by our subconscious mind, and our minds are creating this story. So it really is an
Yes.
opportunity.
It is. And like the shadow of Libra in Venus would be people pleasing. So it's a
Mm,
really good time to that's when what you were just saying, that portal. What is it what are my needs? What is it that I'm maybe struggling with and how I relate?
hmm Yeah, absolutely. That's really
Mhm.
neat reflection. I'm glad you brought that up for everyone. So August 9th, Mercury enters Leo at this time. So, how does Mercury moving into this Leo influence the way we communicate or express ourselves as well during this time?
Ah, well, I think this Mercury's always very close to the sun. It's always in the sign before, after, or of. And when we have the sun and Leo and Mercury in Leo, this means that not only are we going to be, living that Leo energy, especially wherever Leo is in someone's chart, that's going to show where they're being highlighted, but it's also going to be like how are they processing their thoughts? And so you have this double Leo energy for most of the month. So you're going to be thinking like one, like how can I express myself in my unique way, not in what other people want to hear or what, I feel like I should do or shouldn't do. Leo is bold. They let themselves be seen. So there's going to be this kind of energy, I think, on a global scale with that. And when we think of how Leo processes information, they're a fixed fire sign. They do it by what brings joy. And so it's going to be hard for especially fire and air people to do the 9 to 5 mundane energy at this time, because like there's this calling to something more. And so our thoughts and how we speak are going to be there. And you mentioned the word how we express ourselves. And Leo is about expression. The energy of Leo rules our unique self-expression when there's nothing else that we let inhibit that. So yeah, that'll be bolder, louder, brighter.
Hmm. It seems like a neat time for maybe a couple different options here I want to throw out, and you can give me your feedback. But uh, number one, humming. Just humming in the morning gets our voice activated, and it's like you can hum happy birthday, and it shows you that you have a voice and that you can start expressing your voice. Another one that came to mind was automatic journaling. So set a timer and maybe just journal your thoughts and what's going on in your mindset. Or maybe a third one would be picking a manifestation statement and writing it over and over and over again to change your subconscious thoughts and your thought patterns. I don't know if you have any feedback on those or.
I think those are all great. They're all Mercury related, and I love that. I would, if I were going to throw the Leo flare in there, it would be the journal would mean something to you. It's got to be, make it yours. And humming is great, but that's not what Leo would do. They would add some movement, add some dance. So I love all of that.
Add some
But
flair.
yeah, and or see why, examine why it is hard for you to share your voice, even,
Mhm.
maybe you record yourself and put it out there.
There you go. That's a good challenge. I like that one. That's a good challenge for everyone. Okay, and then on August 11th, we have Mars entering Cancer. So, how can we best work with Mars in Cancer energy? And maybe this is around our emotional drive.
So Mars is what we call at fall in Cancer. It's at its weakest state in Cancer energy. Even when it's in detriment, if Mars were in Libra, we call it detriment. But fall means it doesn't understand the energy there. So it's hard to get that momentum. Anybody who has Mars in Cancer, this is their Mars return. So it's interesting when we think of Mars energy in Cancer. The competitive edge of Mars goes away, and it becomes more of the I don't want to win unless everyone can win, energy. Whereas, so it kind of softens a lot of that Mars fight and makes it more inclusive. And so I think even when it comes to, because Mars rules how we act, so there's going to be an action that comes that is more encompassing to less selfish. And yeah, and when we say in fall, it doesn't mean that people with Mars and Cancer or having this energy is not going to be great. It's just it doesn't understand the energy because Cancer is so nurturing, soft, and motherly, and it has this energy of really wanting the belonging sense. So when that's where the Mars drive is going to come, is how can we make everybody feel included, part of it. So it'll be great for like family get-togethers, reunions, stuff like that, and dealing through any of those emotional roots maybe that have been, underground and need to come up.
Yeah. So, more collaborative. I don't know if that's even the right word. I'm not sure what word you use, but collaborative,
Inclusive, I would
inclusive.
say.
Okay. Inclusive energy and drive that's more inclusive to the family or the group. Okay.
Yeah, that sense of belonging, that sense of of caring. Caring's an action, right?
Hmm.
And if Mars is going to be in Cancer, that's the action it's going to
Hmm.
carry through.
Okay. And then on August 12th, we move into something actually quite big here. This is a pretty monumental moment for the year, probably. So, August 12th, we have a solar eclipse in Leo. So can you start by maybe just describing for viewers what exactly is a solar eclipse?
I can. Eclipses are astrologers' favorite times. So, the first thing I'll say is find a good astrologer and find out where it's affecting you directly because we can't even estimate this. It'll be different for everyone. But so what's happening is at a solar eclipse, this can only happen at a new moon, and lunar eclipse only at a full moon, of course, and they're 18-month cycles. So what is happening is that as the sun is come in a new moon, the sun and the moon come together, but what's happening is they're crossing the axis of what we call the lunar nodes, the true node and the south node. And so what happens is it creates a different shadow. So, for example, the south node is going to be in Leo for this solar eclipse. And the reason the nodes are important and why solar eclipses, lunar eclipses are important is because our nodes are our karmic mission. The north node is what are the skill sets you need to bring in? What are the new growth that you need in your life? And the south node is kind of like, the dead branches of a tree and stuff. They've served their purpose, but they're no longer required. They've done what they're meant to do. So when we look at it, what's happening with new moon energy in the solar eclipse is this one with the south node in Leo. What parts of us have we grown and got us to this point where we are who we are now? We see this imprint because we're never the same person. So can we look back at that path and have pride and acknowledgement for who we are? But because the north node's going to be in Aquarius, how can we bring this to the collective? How can we work and understand our gifts for the greater good? More energy. And then what I would just remind people is it's more important what areas of life they're in, which is what we call houses in astrology, because that'll show you where can you actually look and see what can I let go of and what can I bring in. And the last thing I'll say is because it's on a new moon and it's a solar eclipse, which is illuminating, usually it almost deepens that. We always talk about new moons, you bring something in. But with this one, it's almost like a mixture of both the full moon and the new moon because you're bringing in this new skill set, but you're letting go what got you to this point with love. So, and then 18-month cycle, that will switch. So we evolve as we go through the year.
Mhm. That's a really good explanation. And with regards to the South Node and the North Node, I always thought the South Node was sort of where we came from. The North Node was where we were heading to. But that was a really good explanation about that. Is there a prompt that you think that people should look at or think about during this time when you look at that Leo Aquarius axis? Is there anything that you'd like to share with that regard?
I would say because the South Node is in Leo and we're what old versions of ourselves are no longer there. And if we look at the true node in Aquarius, when we think of Aquarius, this is the peaceful rebel, this is the awakener. So, what can you maybe add to your life that is out of character? Go out of your comfort zones, because there's on the other side of that is the next step, the success to who you are becoming. Especially if you're feeling stuck, this is a whole ritual you could do, and because they're hitting those 2 points, like they're both being illuminated, so it's very powerful.
Hmm. I remember the last one was very powerful for me personally.
Yeah.
Okay, and then August 28th, we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces with the full moon. So, again, you sort of already explained the lunar eclipse portion, but you're welcome to touch on that again. And then, how best can we navigate the lunar eclipse?
Yeah, so lunar eclipse, same thing. It's during the, or it's not same thing, different, full moon, and that's when the sun and the moon are already are at opposing each other, which is why people get a little bit crazy at full moons, is because the emotions and the ego are there. But of course, when we put the nodes in there, then that's that orbital axis of the moon. It's going to influence things, and for that one, I believe I have to double check, but I believe it is the north node that is in Pisces. So this would be, how do we increase our spiritual health? How do we believe in the things that aren't tangible? How do we use empathy as a means of communication, and compassion instead of judgment? So those would be the things that we want to bring more in. And what do we want to let go of? Well, full moons are about releasing. So the needing every detail, if we've got that south node energy in Virgo, even though the sun is going to be there and the moon's going to be in Pisces, with the lunar eclipse, we switch the energy a little bit. Where are we overthinking things? Where are we looking at every single detail to the point where we're missing the energy behind it? And the other thing I would even say is, where are we being hypercritical? Where are we putting our standards so high that we can't achieve them, and maybe others can't either, and without meaning to, or we're causing so much tension, when we can look at every single individual situation and person compassionately, as that's the best that there is at this moment, or something like that. So I'd say finding more of the Zen, and letting some of the research and the mind chatter and stories go.
Yeah, some of the perfectionism, to let that move away, and then to relax the mind and to maybe dream into this expansive energy. So that brings up I think this brings up a really valid point, which is when we're talking about astrology, it becomes even more impactful when we start to look at our own birth charts, which means that we need to know, the exact date, time, location that we were born in, and then look at how this really affects us on an individual level. So, I mean, you've said it, I know you offer it. And when we look at self-development, it's the most radical thing we can do is really know thyself, right? This understanding ourselves and what it is we're facing. And so this is why, and I've said this before, but this is why I love having you on, Sandy, and I love talking about astrology, because we get to learn about exactly how these energies are affecting us and affecting our lives, and prepare for it or understand it as it starts to enter. I had someone say to me that astrology was a framework just like anything else. And I completely disagree, because actually the universe is a complete reflection of our internal world, and our internal world is a reflection of the universe. So
Uh-huh.
to me, it's much deeper. I don't know if you have any comments on that, but I just would like to reiterate to people mostly that pulling their exact birth charts and looking at how these energies, when we come to something as impactful as a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, how that impacts them directly.
I 100% would agree with that. There's many different kinds of astrology, but it all boils down to the same: knowing the seasons, knowing the elements, and knowing the time framework. Time is a construct that we live by as humans. And so what I do is psychological astrology, which uses the tropical zodiac. And when you look at lunar nodes or anything like that, it's a psychological revelation, and it's ways of self-study, just like you say. And you can find all the predictions you want looking at Vedic astrology or any of those other ones, and they are profound and they're incredible. But if you yourself are not able to make that change, or to not resist it, or to work with it, then what good are they? You can't predict something and avoid it. You have to go through it. So how do you know you, and how would you do it best, is why I love psychological astrology like this.
Hmm. Yeah, and our minds create our reality. So ultimately, we're not responsible for what happens to us, but we are responsible for how we act and how we cope with it. So, this is an opportunity just to dig deeper, to understand ourselves and understand what it's reflecting for us. So,
Yeah, 100%.
well, that's a really beautiful summary. There actually is a lot going on this month. Do you have any final thoughts, though, with regards to any of the things we've discussed?
I think that, you know, there's everything that's happening astrologically this month. There's been some big mover shakers and so on going on, and I really feel like there's a lot of good apps and stuff out there. But you mentioned something about that journaling, and because astrology is so vast, it's nice to keep a journal for astrology. And you could do it as simple as just marking, like, okay, we start with the eclipses. Let's start marking my evolution through them, and just having a solo thing for that, because that would be my favorite advice. Eclipses are huge, and oftentimes when we look back at them, this is where entire patterns stop and start in our lives. And so knowing where this eclipse and is working for you in your life, and then following it as you go each 18-month cycle, you get to literally see in real time your own growth. It's like having the growth mark chart on the wall when you're a kid.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
get to look back and say, I was that tall once.
Yeah, we're marking it higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful, Sandy. So, for our listeners, can you tell them how to find you?
Yes, I can be found at www.solarpowerhealth.com, and on Instagram at Solar Power Health Inc. And both of those will get you to any of my other sites. I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, and I love helping people. Astrology is my first language, as I often say. So, yeah,
That's beautifully put. Okay, and I will link all of those in the description of the video as well for people to find you. So, well,
thanks.
thank you so much for being here again, Sandy. It's been really nice to have you on and to have this conversation about the month ahead.
Megan, I love your wisdom so much, and I love doing these with you. So, thank you very, very much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll do it again next month. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and we can keep exploring monthly astrology with Sandy and all of her great guidance. I am so grateful for being here. We'll see you in the next one.